Hey guys, Coach Nate here from the Run Experience. Today we're taking a deep dive into the Asics Metaracer racing shoe. I've gotten to run in this thing for a couple months. It's the first carbon-plated shoe that I've gotten to run in, and it's been a while since I've run in a pair of Asics, so I'm excited to give you the rundown, my experiences, but first let's start with the specs. So this 7-ounce lovely features a dual-sided lobster claw carbon fiber plate that goes from the midfoot to the toe and is pretty unique to other carbon plated shoes in that it is bottom loaded. The plate's down here, and that means that it doesn't need quite as much foam and cushioning as other carbon plated shoes out there to mitigate any shock or force or anything like that. The foam they do use is their new Flight Foam, which is a lower durometer foam than they've been able to make in the past, making it very soft and springy. All in all, this means this is a nice neutral shoe, not a lot of arch support, low stack height with a 9mm toe drop, pretty good. Built upon the popular everyday trainer, the Glide Ride, Asics claims that this makes it ultra smooth and propulsive in its foot transitions. More on that later. The upper is hydrophobic, meaning that it not only helps wick away sweat, but it's actually really great for breathability. You can see all the ventilation in here. It really does make a difference. And they claim they have a very durable outsole. I haven't run enough miles in this thing to tell yet, but it's supposed to have great grip and performance, not only in dry conditions, but slick conditions as well. I've only gotten to test this in the dry, so I'm not sure how it actually does in the slick from personal experience. But there you go, the full specs of this beauty. So the first thing I noticed upon putting these on is just how light they are. They weigh nothing. These things would blow off a table in a stiff breeze. The upper is really open in terms of its breathability. I noticed as soon as I started running these things, it was on a cool morning, I could immediately feel that air on my feet, which was nice. Really thin tongue that's tapered. I liked this. It just added to this whole form-fitting nature of this. It felt like I was running in a pair of spikes or cross-country racing shoes from the days of old, where I just have this super form-fitting shoe on my feet, and it just really felt like an extension of the foot. The last Asics are a little bit on the narrow side for me in general, so I kind of noticed I felt a little claustrophobic when I first put these on, but the upper does have some ply, so just after a little bit of running, it started to open up a little bit more and give me a little bit of room. But those are just some of the things I noticed here. In terms of the, sole itself, you're seeing not nearly as much stack height as you are seeing in the other carbon-plated shoes, like what you're seeing from the Hoka Carbon X, or obviously the Nike Vapor and Alpha Flies, respectively. The sole is very stiff. I can barely bend this thing, so you definitely know that plate's in there. And I noticed that stiffness. I think in general it gave a good amount of support, which is nice because there's not really any arch support in this. Very neutral shoe in this respect. In terms of the soles in the bottom, this thing is pretty darn slick. You can see that they were really going for as much weight savings as possible. They didn't want any additional lugs or treads. I was a little nervous if I was going to go out, if I'm going to corner and just slip and fall on my butt. But I was on dry pavement and wasn't making too sharp turns, so didn't really seem to have any problems there. Now, in terms of running these things, I have to admit, at first it felt a little odd, especially I was warming up. I had this very stiff sole underneath, and it was like trying to drive a sports car at really slow speeds. It just didn't want to go slow. The other thing that made me think of was like really stiff racing skis. I used to be a downhill skier, and it's like these skis are made for going 40 or 50 miles an hour, and if they go slower, they just don't track very well. So when I started going slow in the shoe, just warming up, it just felt a little squishy and just not that great. There's certainly a lot of other ones that felt better. But as soon as I started doing my pickups and getting ready for my virtual 5K race, where I was, pushing it, all of a sudden this shoe really settled in and started to feel really, really good. Again, just the base of the design, you can tell the shoe's designed to run on a track or road more or less in a straight line. It's not necessarily meant to be off camber. It's not meant to take a lot of turns or be off road in any type of way. I didn't get a chance to test this in the rain. I'd be very curious to see how it did from a slickness, but again, I felt no problems with that. You know, generally, as I mentioned before about the stack height, this reminds me much more of a tempo trainer or just like lightweight racing shoe as opposed to the super thick high stack height shoes you're seeing now. So I'm sure some athletes out there are racing marathons in this. That's probably not me. I see that I could, you know, hit 5K, 10K definitely at this. I could maybe, you know, swing out to a half marathon, but I think if I were to go longer, I probably want to stick to a shoe that has a little bit more support. But in terms of the carbon plated performance aspect of this, man, you can totally feel it. It's really incredible, especially as you start going faster. This just kind of pushes you up into your toes a little bit and you just start to fly. And at first I wasn't really sure, but when I took these shoes off, I ran a couple laps in just like another lightweight trainer, and then I put these things back on. It was super noticeable. So if you're in the market for a lightweight performance racing shoe, especially targeting, you know, half marathon and lower, I think this is a really great option, especially if you're the individual that, you know, likes that Asics last, that tends to be a little bit of a narrower stance. And this is really the perfect shoe. As I said, at those high speeds, it felt fantastic. Super lightweight, super breathable, everything you want in that race and performance shoe. Speaking of my own performance, I got to run a 1725K in this shoe. I was super stoked with it, super stoked about that. I was thinking I was gonna be a little bit closer to 18 or in the 1745 range, 1740. So I think this shoe, I mean, I like to think it was my hard effort that really got me there, but I like to think that this shoe also gave me a couple seconds. So I totally get the buzz about carbon plated shoes and how they really impact your performance. If I'm being honest, the bright orange, pink, or coral, maybe it's a coral color. I don't know if that's my preferred colorway, but it is bright and flashy and it makes a statement. And you racers out there, you want to show up bright and flashy and loud. This is a nice colorway for you. Otherwise, I will keep this in my closet. I'll pull them out for my next virtual race, and I'll keep an eye out for those more muted colorways that, you know, suit me a little bit more in this time of my life. Now, if you want to go ahead and check out these shoes for yourself, there's a link down in the description below this video. Definitely go. You can learn more about the shoe and pick up a pair for yourself. If you want to learn more about running shoes and the difference between minimalist and maximalist and high cushion shoes and just what all this stuff does to your form and your mechanics and how you should thread all these things together, we should definitely watch this video right over here on my shoulder, guys. I'm going to keep filming. I'll see you in the next one.